So what I wanted to do today was to talk about fear and resistance. The very thinking of it is bringing up fear as well. So this should be interesting, and I'm sure it'll contribute to the video. I've seen my work change over the last year and a half, and if I'm honest, I didn't ever expect myself to be at this point in my work. And what I've found is over the last year and a bit, a lot of my ideas have been challenged. A lot of what I believe myself to be has been challenged, and a lot of what was familiar to me has become very, very unfamiliar. And I find myself going from a place of comfort to uncomfortableness, and it's almost like, in a sense, constant. And it's shown up in a myriad of ways. It's shown up physically, it's shown up mentally, it's shown up spiritually. And as this process has been going on, there's been a lot of fear, there's been a lot of resistance, and there's been times when the only thing I could actually do was just sit there and take a real deep breath and just try to remain calm. What I've found recently is that the fear seems to be breaking, and there seems to be excitement about going forward. There seems to be a difference in the way I communicate. There's almost, in a sense, a desire to communicate this. Questions are being asked. I'm actively fielding questions now, whereas once upon a time I would do absolutely anything to make sure questions weren't being asked, or just kind of shut them all down. And you know, I've had feedback from people saying that, you know, the energy's changing, it's a bit more inviting and what have you, and it's come at a bit of a cost. And what it's cost me is literally stripping away of a lot of ideas that I held to be gospel truth. And like I said, you know, it's led to a lot of changes, and it has been a process. And this morning I was talking to a dear friend, and it came up. I asked him the question, "Are you scared?" To which he said yes. So, you know, we arranged to talk, and we were talking, and we were talking about the changes and challenges going ahead, and how sometimes we don't really feel that we're adequately equipped to do whatever it is that we're meant to be doing. And it can bring up this fear, and there comes a point where you realize that it doesn't matter what you try to do to cope. Whatever you try to do, you're going to have to face this fear, and you're going to have to feel it fully. And that can bring up, as I said, all sorts of changes. It can bring up physical changes, mental changes, spiritual changes, and we just have to go through them. And invariably what happens with fear, resistance comes along as well. And sometimes we find ourselves actively resisting doing the work that we need to do in order to kind of leave this fear. So we kind of, in a sense, get ourselves stuck by trying to get away from the fear. So what we're doing is we're professing that we want to leave this place of fear, but then the resistance isn't allowing us to move from there to do the necessary things that we need to do to move on. What we find is if we stay in that space, you know, which appears like it's stuck, but I would say it's more of a transition, because we always move forward. What you find is over time that the fear starts dissipating, and you start seeing the road ahead, so to speak. You start seeing the possibilities that lie ahead. And yes, I know, as I say lie ahead, I know that implies that there may be a journey or a time. It is all happening in now, yes, but just for the sake of, you know, simplicity, you know, I'll express it, sorry, that way. So yeah, what you find is you start kind of seeing that, okay, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought. What that allows is, it allows insight to come in, because what happens is the fear starts dissipating, and the resistance starts becoming less and less and less. And it allows us then to really act from this place of inspiration. It allows us to act from a place of insight. And we find that what we thought was impossible is actually quite possible, because of the fact that we have sat with this fear, because of the fact that we've allowed ourselves to really feel it. We've allowed ourselves to feel the resistance and to make the mistakes as well. And this process is really about trusting to the best of our abilities and being patient, because it is a process. I believe there was a very famous speaker who said, you know, you can't have a child in less than 9 months. And similarly, when we're going through these periods of transition, when we're going through these periods of fear or resistance, as much as we would like them over as quickly as possible, as much as we would like to not have to feel like this, it's something that we're going to have to go through. And if we're patient, and if we're trusting of the process, and if we allow ourselves to really fully open up and feel whatever it is, which basically means sometimes get up in the morning and just hating your life, Or sometimes getting up in the morning and thinking to yourself, yeah, this makes complete sense, and then 30 seconds later being completely lost again. If we allow ourselves to just let whatever happens or whatever needs to come up, what we may find is that this period of transition, this period of fear and resistance will just dissipate, and will disappear a lot quicker because we're not standing in the way. And by allowing the resistance to be there, sooner or later, we're not resisting anymore, because we've taken the shots our life has got to throw at us, and we're still here. I think there's this very famous kind of meme where it says, you've survived 100% of your bad days. And as such, you will survive this, and you will adapt, and you will develop insights. And it's a process, and sometimes it's a very beautiful and elegant process. And by thinking short term and trying as much as we can to keep away from the fear, what we do, and trying to really resist that fear, we miss these beautiful insights that would come if we would allow just things to pass. As a Sufi state, this too shall pass. And this always passes, but sometimes when we're in the thick of it, when we can't see the wood for the trees, or where it appears like everything is against us, it's then that we need to just slow down and just stop to the best of our abilities and see what is actually happening. And it's something I've been talking more and more about this whole slowing down, because we allow ourselves to build just a little bit of space. I remember a couple of months ago, I was literally just breathing really heavily all the time, freaked out. And yet what I found is, over time, by just allowing that to happen, the insights have shown me that it's meant to happen like this, and it opens up, our field of perception opens up. And we then find that if we are truly patient and we slow ourselves down to the best of our abilities, we may find that things that we thought would take absolutely forever to resolve just resolve in an instant, because there's no resistance, there's no stepping in the way. In that sense, we're in the truest form of acceptance that we can possibly be. And what that allows is that it allows whatever needs to happen. After a while, it almost becomes impersonal. These emotions are happening, these thoughts and feelings are happening, but they're happening to no one. But also simultaneously, they offer us so much information, because we're witnessing them as that which is prior to mind. So we are able to watch this entire dance of consciousness, because we are consciousness, and we can then really be in the moment and really enjoy that, and really feel the bliss and the ecstasy of that, and to really savor our insights, and to really be present with what's actually happening. We may find then that years worth of work can be done in instances. We can heal, we can have insights, we can adapt, we can change, we can realize that our preconceived limits aren't real. And in all of that, we start seeing more and more of what we are, which builds this trusting, and the trust then deepens. And it allows us to see, again, as we see more and more of what we are, it allows us to, as I said, build that trust. It gives us patience as well in the process. And we surrender. And in that surrender, there's a letting go of the story, the letting go of the ideas, and that which held us back, and that which we thought defined us. And we see ourselves resting as what we truly are, which is home, which is where we always are. And then the whole idea of seeking, the whole idea of understanding or doing or being is seen through. And there is simply life. And it's effortless. And it's not being done by anybody, or not being needed to be done, or trying or trying to understand. If insight comes, great, and if it doesn't come, well, that's great as well. And really, in that trusting, we start seeing so much more. And the beautiful thing is, as I used to say years ago, it's like a gift that keeps on giving, because there will never be an end to these insights. There will never really be an end to this deepening, to this trusting, to this patience, to this realization that there is simply just this. And yet at the same time, as complicated as that may sound, and oh my God, I'm gonna have to be like this or this or this, we find that it's completely effortless. As I say, sometimes breathing is probably more complicated than this, because it is so immediate. And it's so immediate because it is us. And in that, the duality, the idea of two collapses, and yet life simply happens. The idea of a Zahir Khan recording a video and talking to people and going doing talks is happening, and yet it's happening to no one. It's a resolution of a paradox which is so beautiful and so sweet. and yet so bittersweet as well. So if you're going through that fear and that resistance, allow it to be. And again, be gentle with yourself. It's not about trying to dive headlong into something if you're not ready or you're not prepared, because ultimately you are the judge. You are the best judge of the journey that you're on. And these videos are really just about, offering some pointers that you may be able to pick something up of or may not. But ultimately they point to you that the very answer that you're seeking is you. That the very end of this idea of seeking, or if there is an end, is actually you. And in that letting go and that surrendering, we are in that place where we have always been, which is home, which is right here, and it's right now.